This is the story of a poor woman named Amara and a billionaire named Kwame. One was hungry and cold. The other had everything money could buy. But one rainy morning in Lagos, their lives crossed in a way no one expected. And what happened after will make you cry.
The rain fell gently across the bustling streets of Nairobi. Matatus and cars rushed past on the crowded Mombasa road. Amara stood at the corner, clutching her baby daughter Zuri close to her chest. The baby was wrapped in a thin shawl, crying softly. Her body trembled from the cold. Amara had no umbrella, no jacket, no food, no shelter. Her worn sandals were falling apart. Her dress clung to her skin, soaked through, but she remained there, unmoving. The night before, neither she nor her baby had eaten, not even a single morsel. So this morning, despite the rain, she stood by the roadside, waiting for someone to help. It wasn't for herself, it was for Zuri. She could not bear to watch her child suffer another day. People walked past. Some glanced at her with pity, others looked away. Two men stood nearby and whispered, "Why is she standing there in the rain?" One asked. "Maybe it's her job." The other replied, "Many people pretend just to get free money." Amara heard them, but said nothing. She simply wiped Zuri's face and rocked her gently. She stretched out her hand. "Please help me. Just small food for my baby. She has not eaten." Inside a black Range Rover, a man sat in the back seat. His name was Kwame. He was very wealthy. Today, he was heading to his office early for an important meeting with international investors. The road was congested. Kwame leaned back and gazed out through the tinted window. Then something caught his eye. A young woman stood by the roadside, holding a baby. The rain was still falling. The baby was already wet. The woman looked exhausted, as if she had no strength left. Kwame felt something stir deep inside him. This wasn't ordinary begging. This was pain, real pain. "Stop the car," Kwame said. The driver pulled over. Kwame stepped into the rain and walked toward her. Amara looked up, startled. "Good morning," Kwame said gently. She only nodded. "What's her name?" "Zuri," Amara replied softly. "Has she eaten?" Amara shook her head. "No, sir, not since yesterday." Kwame looked at her soaked clothes. "And you?" Amara looked down. "No, sir, but it's okay. I just want to find food for my baby." Kwame stayed quiet for a moment. "Come with me." Amara was afraid. She had never spoken to a wealthy man before, but when she looked into his eyes, they were kind. She looked down at Zuri, still shivering. Amara took a deep breath and nodded. She followed Kwame to the car. The driver opened the door. Amara stepped in carefully, holding Zuri close. Inside, Kwame handed her a towel. "Use this to dry the baby." "Thank you, sir," she said, her hands shaking. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara." "Where is your home?" Amara looked down. "We sleep on the street, sir." Kwame nodded slowly. "All right. I'll take you somewhere safe." Amara looked up, her eyes wide. "Really, sir?" "Yes, somewhere dry and warm. You and Zuri need rest and food." Tears filled Amara's eyes. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." Kwame said nothing more. He looked out the window, deep in thought, but Amara did not know that this was just the beginning. Kwame looked at his watch. He was almost late for the meeting. The international investors might already be waiting, but he looked at Amara and baby Zuri. They were both tired, cold, hungry. He shook his head. They need food first. He told the driver to stop at a small restaurant. Kwame ordered ugali with beef stew, chapati, grilled chicken, and warm milk for the baby. When the food came, Amara looked at Kwame. "Can I eat here, sir?" Kwame nodded. "Yes, eat." Amara placed Zuri on her lap and fed her the warm milk. Then she started eating. She ate slowly at first, like someone afraid the food would disappear. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she chewed. Kwame watched in silence. When she finished, she looked up at him. "Thank you, sir. God bless you." Kwame leaned forward. "Tell me what happened to you. How did you end up like this?" Amara looked down at her baby. "Sir, I don't have anyone in this world. My parents died when I was a little girl. I grew up in an orphanage in Kasumu. Life was hard. I worked in people's houses. I cleaned, washed, cooked, anything to survive. She kissed Zuri's forehead. Then I met Tunda. He was a taxi driver in Nairobi, but he came from Nigeria. He was kind. We loved each other. After 1 year, he said we would get married. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant. When I told Tunde, he was happy. He said he needed to travel home and tell his family first. He said it was their tradition. Her voice broke. That was the last time I saw him. He promised to come back in 1 week, but he never came back. His number stopped going through. I waited. I cried. No one knew anything. I had no money left. I lost my house. No job would take me because of the pregnancy. So I started sleeping outside. I begged for food. Now Zuri is all I have. Kwame's heart was heavy. He looked at the little girl, now sleeping peacefully. Then at Amara. Life had treated her like nothing. He took a deep breath and made a quiet promise. This is not where her story will end. Kwame reached into his pocket and placed money on the table. Take this. It will help you and your baby for now. Amara's hands began to shake. Sir, this is too much. Take it, he said gently. You need it. Amara held the money close to her chest. Thank you, sir. May God bless you. Kwame looked at his wristwatch. The meeting time had already passed. He stood up quickly. I have a very important meeting. It will last for about 3 hours. He brought out a business card and handed it to her. Call me after 3 hours. I will come to wherever you are and take you and your baby to a safe place. Amara held the card carefully. She wanted to speak, but something held her back. She didn't have a phone, but she thought, now that I have money, maybe I could pay someone to help me make the call. Thank you, sir, she said. Kwame gave her one last look. I'll be waiting for your call. Then he turned and walked out. Amara sat there, holding Zuri with one hand and the business card in the other. For the first time in a long while, she had hope. After sitting in the restaurant for a while, Amara stood up. She took the business card and folded it neatly. She didn't want to lose it, so she slid it into a small pocket sewn inside Zuri's tiny clothes. The baby was still sleeping. She touched the pocket to make sure it was safe. As she stepped out of the restaurant, her baby's blanket shifted. She tried to adjust it without waking Zuri. She didn't know the card had fallen out. It landed on the wet ground near the door. Nobody noticed. The rain had stopped. The sun was peeking out. Amara walked slowly, then boarded a Matatu back to the same place where Kwame had met her. She saw the small shop near the corner. She sat on the edge of a wooden bench. She didn't know the card was gone. She thought, I'll wait here until it's time to call, then I'll pay someone to help me. But now there was no card, no number, nothing. At exactly noon, Kwame stood up from his meeting. The foreign investors had just left. Everything had gone well, but his mind was somewhere else. He reached into his pocket and looked at his phone. No missed calls. 5 hours had passed. Why hasn't she called me? He asked himself. Did she forget? Maybe she never planned to call. Maybe she's one of those people who beg for a living. But he remembered how she cried while eating, how she held her baby close. He sighed deeply. I told her I would take her to a safe place. Why wouldn't she want that? Still, no call. After a while, he placed the phone on his desk and returned to his work. But in his heart, he wasn't at peace. It was lunchtime. Kwame got into his Range Rover. Take me to that small restaurant we went to this morning. As the car moved through Nairobi, Kwame kept looking out, hoping she would still be nearby. They arrived at the restaurant. Kwame quickly stepped out. He looked around. Nothing. No sign of Amara. No sign of the baby. He walked slowly toward the entrance. Just as he reached the door, he saw something on the wet floor. He bent down. There it was, the business card. It was wet. The edges were soft from the rain. He picked it up and stared at it. His heart sank. Did she throw this away? Or did it fall off without her knowing? He held the card tightly. Then he walked into the restaurant and sat at the same table. Just give me ugali and beef stew, he said softly. As the waitress walked away, Kwame placed the wet card on the table. He kept staring at it. In his mind, two voices were speaking. One said, she left. She never planned to call. The other said, "She lost the card. Maybe she's still waiting for you." Far away, Amara was still seated quietly in the shade. Little Zuri was sleeping in her arms. At this point, she thought it was time to call. She slowly opened the small pocket in Zuri's clothes. Her hand stopped. Her heart jumped. It was gone. She searched again, shaking the clothes, checking her wrapper. Nothing. She stood up and looked around the ground. Still nothing. Tears filled her eyes. Oh no, no, no. She sat back down, holding Zuri close. God finally sent someone to help me, someone kind. And now, I've lost his card. She wiped her face. Maybe I'll never see him again. But then a thought came. Maybe it dropped at the restaurant. She stood up, still crying, but with new hope. I must go back. She wrapped Zuri on her back and began walking fast. God, please let me find it. She found a matatu going toward the area. She climbed in and sat quietly. Finally, the matatu stopped. She came down and walked quickly. Would the card still be there? Kwame sat quietly in the restaurant, finishing his food. He picked up the card, cleaned it with a tissue, and looked at it. He let out a long sigh and stepped out. His driver opened the car door. "Let's go back to the office," he said. As Kwame's car pulled out from the restaurant, Amara was just a few steps away. She didn't see his face through the dark window. He didn't see her either. By the time she reached the restaurant, the car was gone. She stood in front of the door, breathing hard. She walked in slowly, holding her baby, looking around. She went to the same table where they ate that morning. The table was clean. No card, no sign. She bent down and checked under the table. Nothing. She turned to a waitress. "Excuse me, please. Did anyone find a small card here?" The waitress shook her head. "No, madam. We cleaned the whole place. Nothing like that." Amara's eyes filled with tears. She stepped outside, holding Zuri close. Zuri had started crying. Amara tried to calm her, but her own tears were falling too. Her only chance was gone. She had no idea how close she had been to getting help. She turned and walked away slowly, not knowing the man she was looking for had just left. Only seconds before. That night, Amara sat on the cold floor of an unfinished building. It was dark. There were no windows, just broken walls and open space. She placed some old clothes on the floor and laid Zuri down gently. Zuri was already asleep, her tiny hand resting on Amara's arm. Amara stared at the ceiling with tears in her eyes. God, I don't want my child to grow up like this. Please help us. She thought of Kwame, his face, his kindness, the way he looked at her and her baby. Then she thought of the card. She had lost it. Maybe I'll never see him again, she said softly. But just before closing her eyes, she made a decision. A quiet but strong decision. I will go back to that spot, the same place he saw me. Maybe, just maybe, he might pass there again. She didn't sleep much. The wind blew through the open space, mosquitoes bit her arms. Zuri cried in the middle of the night. Still, she held on. By early morning, Amara was already up. She cleaned Zuri with some water from a small bowl. She dressed her and brushed her hair gently. We'll be okay. I promise. Amara was not hungry that morning. Kwame had given her enough money to feed them for more than a week. But today was not about food. Today was about hope. She left the building and walked down the road with her baby on her back. She didn't beg. She just stood at the same spot where Kwame had seen her that first morning, watching, waiting, hoping. Would he pass this way again? She didn't know, but she was ready to wait for as long as it would take. The sun was already high in the sky. It was a bright morning in Kwame's house. Today was special. His younger brother, Kofi, was coming back home after 17 long years in Atlanta. Kwame had been waiting for this day. He didn't go to the office. He informed the driver early, "Please go to the airport. My brother's landing this morning." Kwame walked around with a smile. He spoke with the chef. "Make sure there's jollof rice, fried plantain, grilled tilapia, goat meat, and fufu. My brother loves fufu." Then he called 3 close friends. "Kofi is arriving today. Come over." Laughter was already filling the compound. Music played softly, But far away in the city, Amara stood by the road. Zuri was tied to her back. She looked at every black Range Rover that passed. But today, the driver had gone with Kwame's red Range Rover. She waited and prayed. God, please don't forget me. At the airport, Kwame's driver stood by the entrance holding a small sign that said, Kofi. Soon, a tall man with a wide smile and a trolley full of suitcases came out. Kofi saw the sign and walked over. You must be Kwame's driver. Yes, sir, the driver said, taking the trolley. As they drove out, Kofi rolled down the window and looked around. Ah, this place has really changed. The driver smiled. Yes, sir, a lot has changed since you left. But as they moved deeper into the city, the car began to slow down. Cars were everywhere. Matatus, buses, motorcycles. Honking filled the air. The driver sighed. Ah, this traffic has started again. Kofi laughed. How do you people cope with this chaos? We just have to. This is Nairobi. Just then, as the car moved slowly, the driver looked ahead. His smile dropped. There, by the side of the road, a young woman was standing with a baby tied to her back. She looked tired. She was the same woman Kwame had taken to the restaurant. The same woman he went back to look for. The driver's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Kofi noticed the change in his face. Is something wrong? The driver shook his head. No, sir, just this traffic. He didn't know what to do. Should I stop? Should I call my boss? But he wasn't sure. So he kept driving. But he kept looking at her through the mirror. Inside his heart, he knew that woman was important. About 19 minutes later, the red Range Rover drove into Kwame's big mansion. As soon as the car stopped, Kofi stepped out and looked around. The house was beautiful. Suddenly, the front door opened. Kwame stepped out with a big smile. Kofi, he shouted, brother. Kofi laughed and opened his arms. They hugged each other tight. You look good, Kwame said. And you look richer, Kofi teased. They both laughed. Some of Kwame's close friends came out too. They shook hands with Kofi and welcomed him warmly. There was laughter, smiles, and drinks. But one person was not smiling, the driver. He stood quietly beside the car, looking worried. His eyes moved to Kwame every few seconds. He needed to talk fast before the woman left that spot. Soon, Kwame walked toward the kitchen. The chef was busy inside, slicing meat and frying. The driver quickly followed behind. Excuse me, sir, he said in a low voice. Kwame turned around. Yes, what is it? The driver took a deep breath. Sir, I saw her. Kwame's face changed. Who? The woman from yesterday, sir. The one with the baby. She was standing at the same spot where you met her before. Kwame went quiet. His eyes looked down, like he was thinking deeply. Then he spoke slowly. The woman who threw away my card. Does she really want help? He remembered the rain. He remembered the way she covered her baby with her wrapper. He remembered her saying, my baby didn't eat last night. He felt something move in his chest. Maybe she was just scared. Maybe she did not throw the card away deliberately. He looked at the driver and said, go back to that spot now. If she's still there, ask her why she didn't call me. If her reason makes sense, and if her face shows that she really wants help, bring her to me. The driver nodded. Yes, sir. He turned and walked out fast. Amara was still standing by the roadside. She looked tired. Little Zuri was quiet in her arms. The sun was hot now. Amara looked down the road again. Her eyes searched for any sign of Kwame's car, but nothing. It's past 12 already, she said softly. If he was going to the office like yesterday, he would have passed by now. She sighed. Maybe he didn't go to work today, or maybe he went through a different route. She looked at Zuri. Let's go, my baby. Let's find somewhere with shade. She was just about to turn when she heard a voice behind her. Madam. She stopped. She turned quickly. A red Range Rover had stopped by the roadside. The window rolled down. The man inside pointed at her. Wait, he said. She looked closely. It was Kwame's driver. Her eyes opened wide. Her heart jumped. She held Zuri tighter. As the driver stepped out, Amara took a small step forward. The moment their eyes met, Tears filled hers. She quickly spoke, her voice shaking. I'm sorry. I lost the card he gave me yesterday. I looked everywhere. I went back to the restaurant, but it wasn't there. The driver looked at her. He saw the tired face, the sweat, the way she held her baby like gold. She wasn't faking it. She wasn't pretending. She looked like a woman who had cried in silence all night. He didn't need to ask anything else. Please follow me, he said gently. Amara nodded. He opened the back door. She climbed in with Zuri. The driver got in and started the engine. As they drove off, Amara looked out the window. She didn't know what was waiting for her, but in her heart, she whispered, "Thank you, God, thank you." The red Range Rover drove into Kwame's compound and stopped. The driver opened the back door for Amara. She stepped out slowly, holding Zuri close. Her heart was beating fast. She looked up at the big house. It was like a dream. "Come with me," the driver said. As they entered the house, laughter came from the sitting room. Kwame was there, sitting with his brother Kofi and guests. But the moment Kwame looked up and saw Amara, his smile faded. He stood up slowly. Amara moved quickly toward him. Still holding Zuri, she dropped to her knees, but Kwame rushed to her and held her arms. "No, please," he said gently. "Don't do that." She stood, shaking. Everyone turned to look. The room went quiet. Kwame didn't explain. "Come with me," he said. He led her down the hallway and opened the door to a guest room. It was clean and fresh. "Please take a proper bath. You and your baby. You can rest here." Amara nodded slowly, still looking around like she wasn't sure if this was real. Kwame left her and went to the kitchen. He called the chef. "There's a woman in the guest room. Make sure she eats well. Don't delay." "Yes, sir." Later that evening, after everyone had left, Kwame sat in the living room with Kofi and Amara. Amara looked cleaner now. She had changed into fresh clothes. Zuri was fast asleep in her arms. "You said you lost the card?" Kwame asked, gently. Amara nodded. "Yes, sir. I looked everywhere. I even went back to the restaurant, but I didn't see it. My phone got damaged before I gave birth. I have not had a phone since then." Kofi listened quietly. Kwame leaned forward. "I can't change the past, but I can help your future. Is there any business you want to do? Anything you're good at? Tell me, and I'll set it up for you. You'll be staying here for now, until I find you a place." A few days later, Kwame walked into the guest room and smiled at Amara. "Get ready. We're going out." "Out?" she asked, surprised. He nodded. "Yes, you and Zuri need something important." Soon they were on the road. They arrived at a big clothing shop in Westlands. Kwame led them inside. "Pick anything you like," he said. Amara looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, what do you mean?" "I mean it. You and Zuri, you both deserve it." At first, Amara was shy. She touched some clothes and dropped them again, but Kwame encouraged her. Soon she picked a few pretty dresses for herself and some nice baby clothes for Zuri. When they were done, the cashier packed everything. Kwame paid for everything. Amara's eyes were full of joy. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." But Kwame wasn't done yet. Next, they went to a phone shop. He asked the seller to bring a new smartphone. Then he took her to the Safaricom outlet. There, he helped her retrieve her old phone number. Amara held the phone like it was gold. "God bless you, sir. I don't even know what to say." Kwame simply smiled. "You don't have to say anything." They returned to the mansion. When they stepped inside, Kofi was already sitting in the living room, waiting. He stood up as they entered. "Kwame, there's a place I want you to go with me, and I'd also like Amara to come along." Kwame looked at Amara. She nodded quietly. They all left the house together and entered the car. Nobody said much during the drive. Amara kept wondering what this was about. She looked at Zuri, who was asleep in her arms, and prayed in her heart. After some time, the car stopped in front of a tall apartment building in Kilimani. Kofi told the driver to park. They all came down. Kwame looked at Kofi. "Where are we?" "Just follow me," Kofi said. They walked into the compound. As they reached the door of one of the apartments, Kofi stopped. He turned and looked at Amara. "When I heard your story, it reminded me of our mother." Amara listened, not sure where he was going. Kofi's voice became softer. "She was a single mother. She raised Kwame and me all by herself. I remember how she used to cry at night. I would see her when I woke up, but I couldn't do anything. We were too small to help her. She passed before we made money, before we could show her the love she truly deserved. That pain has never left me. Amara's eyes were already wet. Her hand shook as she held Zuri tighter. Then Kofi reached into his pocket. He brought out a small key. This apartment is for you. Amara's knees gave way. She dropped to the ground and began to cry loudly. Oh God, what did I do to deserve this kindness? Kwame was quiet. He looked at Kofi, shocked. He had wanted to help Amara, but now it was his brother who had taken it even further. Kwame walked up to him and hugged him tight. I am proud of the man you've become. I just wish Mama was here to see this. Kofi held his brother's hand and smiled. Then he turned to Amara again. I've also made plans to open a shop for you. A small supermarket in Eastleigh. Don't worry, we'll get a good manager, but you'll be the supervisor, and with time, you'll learn how to manage it fully by yourself. Amara cried even more. She didn't know what to say, but in her heart, she knew her life would never be the same again. Weeks passed quietly. Amara's life had changed in ways she never imagined. She now had a clean house, food to eat, and a supermarket with her name on it. The shelves were full. Customers came in every day. She was no longer begging on the street with baby Zuri tied to her back. One warm afternoon, she was in the office inside her supermarket, writing down sales and checking her books. Zuri was sleeping in a small crib beside her. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was a strange number. She stared at the screen, unsure whether to answer. Something told her to pick the call. She pressed the green button. The voice on the other end was a woman's voice. It was calm but carried deep sadness. Hello, is this Amara? Yes, this is Amara, she answered slowly. There was a pause. I'm calling from Nigeria. My name is Kioma. I'm Tunde's cousin. At the sound of Tunde's name, Amara froze. Her eyes filled with tears instantly. She hadn't heard that name in so long. I've been trying this number for over a year, but it was always off. I only got through today. Amara didn't speak. She held her breath, listening. My cousin Tunde. He came into Nigeria the same day he left you. There was an accident, a bad one. He never made it home. Amara held her chest. Her heart felt heavy. He was in a coma for 4 months. He never woke up. He passed away quietly. A long silence filled the line. I saw the messages you sent him. I saw the love in your words. I knew he was serious about you. From the messages, I believe there's a child. Is there? Yes, Amara whispered. Her name is Zuri. She is his daughter. Her voice broke as she said it. The woman on the phone let out a deep sigh. Tunde's mother is still alive. She's very old now. She cries every day. She thinks Tunde left this world without leaving anything behind. But now, there's hope. Amara took a deep breath and spoke with calm strength. Don't worry. I'll make arrangements to bring Zuri to see her. She must meet her granddaughter. I'll do everything I can to make it happen. The woman on the other end began to cry softly. Thank you. After the call ended, Amara sat alone in the small office. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not tears of pain, but tears of peace. For so long, she had lived with questions. She had lived with silence. But now she knew the truth. Tunde didn't abandon her. He never came back because he couldn't. He was already fighting for his life. Amara had finally found closure, and now her daughter Zuri would grow up knowing where she came from. A few days later, Kwame and Kofi came by the supermarket. They saw Amara smiling again, this time from a place deep inside her. Kwame placed his hand on her shoulder. You're strong, he said. Amara told them about the phone call. She told them about Tunde, about the accident, about his mother in Nigeria. Kwame listened carefully. When she finished, he nodded. When do you want to go? Amara looked surprised. Sir? To Nigeria. To take Zuri to meet her grandmother. When do you want to go? Amara's eyes filled with tears. Sir, I don't have money for such a trip. Kwame smiled gently. You don't need to worry about that. Just tell me when you're ready." Kofi added, "We'll arrange everything, the flight, the accommodation, everything." Amara couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears flowing freely. 2 weeks later, Amara stood at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, holding Zuri in her arms. She was wearing one of the nice dresses Kwame had bought for her. Zuri was dressed in a beautiful baby outfit. Kwame and Kofi were there to see her off. "Remember," Kwame said, "you have our numbers. If you need anything at all, just call." "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir," Amara said, her voice shaking with emotion. Kofi hugged her gently. "Be strong, and tell Tunde's mother that her son raised a wonderful woman." Amara nodded, unable to speak. As she walked toward the departure gate, she turned back one more time and waved. Kwame and Kofi waved back. The flight to Lagos was long, but Amara didn't mind. She held Zuri close and looked out the window at the clouds. She was nervous. What would Tunde's mother think of her? Would she blame her? Would she accept Zuri? But beneath the nervousness was peace. She was finally going to close this chapter of her life properly. When the plane landed in Lagos, Amara collected her bag and walked through the airport. Her heart was beating fast. Outside, she saw a woman holding a sign with her name on it. "Amara?" the woman called out. "Yes," Amara replied. The woman smiled warmly. "I'm Kioma, Tunde's cousin. We spoke on the phone." They hugged. Kioma looked at Zuri and her eyes filled with tears. "She looks just like him," Kioma whispered. They drove for about an hour to a quiet neighborhood in Lagos. The house was small but well kept, with flowers in the front yard. As they approached the door, it opened. An old woman stepped out. She was thin, with gray hair and tired eyes. But when she saw Amara holding the baby, she stopped. Her hands went to her mouth. "Mama," Kioma said gently, "this is Amara, and this is Zuri, your granddaughter." The old woman didn't move at first. She just stared. Then slowly, tears began to roll down her wrinkled face. She walked forward, her step shaky. Amara knelt down, holding Zuri out toward her. The old woman took the baby in her arms. She held her close and began to cry openly. "Tunde," she whispered. "My Tunde, you left me something. You left me something beautiful." She rocked Zuri gently, just as Amara used to do on those cold nights on the street. Amara watched her own tears falling. For 3 days, Amara stayed with Tunde's mother. They talked, they cried, they laughed. The old woman told her stories about Tunde as a boy, how he loved to help people, how he always talked about building a family. "He would have been so proud of you," the old woman said one evening, "for staying strong, for taking care of his daughter." Amara smiled through her tears. "I wish he could have met her." The old woman nodded. "He knows. I believe he knows." On the last day before Amara left for the airport, Tunde's mother held her hands. "Thank you. Thank you for bringing her to me. You didn't have to, but you did. You are a good woman, Amara, a very good woman." She placed a small silver necklace in Amara's hand. "This belonged to Tunde's grandmother. I want Zuri to have it so she always remembers where she comes from." Amara held the necklace tightly. "I promise. She will never forget." They hugged one last time. As the car drove away, Amara looked back at the house. The old woman was standing at the door waving. Amara waved back, tears streaming down her face. But these were not tears of sadness. They were tears of closure, of peace, of love. When Amara returned to Nairobi, everything felt different. The weight she had been carrying for so long was finally gone. She returned to her apartment in Kilimani. She returned to her supermarket in Eastleigh. But now she moved with a new lightness, a new purpose. Months passed. Amara's supermarket grew. She hired more staff. She learned how to manage the books, the inventory, the customers. People in the neighborhood began to know her name. She was no longer the woman begging by the roadside. She was Amara, the businesswoman, the mother, the survivor. One afternoon, as she was closing the shop, a young woman approached her. She was holding a small child. Her clothes were worn. Her face was tired. "Please," the woman said, "I need help, just small food for my child." Amara stopped. She looked at the woman. She looked at the child, and she saw herself. Without saying a word, Amara went back into the shop. She came out with a bag full of food, rice, bread, milk, vegetables. The woman's eyes widened. "Madam, This is too much." Amara smiled gently. "No, it's just enough." She reached into her pocket and brought out some money. "Take this too, and here's my number. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk about work." The woman fell to her knees, crying. "God bless you, madam. God bless you." Amara helped her up. "Don't kneel. You're not less than anyone. You just need help, and that's okay." As the woman walked away, Amara stood there for a moment, watching. Kofi, who had been inside the shop, came out and stood beside her. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Amara turned to him and smiled. "Yes, I did, because someone did it for me." Kofi smiled back. "Mama would have been proud of you." Amara looked up at the sky. The sun was setting, painting the clouds orange and pink. "I hope so," she whispered. That evening, back at her apartment, Amara put Zuri to bed. She sat by the window and looked out at the city lights. She thought about everything that had happened, the rain, the hunger, the loss, the kindness, the hope. She thought about Kwame and Kofi, two strangers who became her family. She thought about Tunde, a love she had lost but would never forget. And she thought about herself, the woman she used to be, the woman she had become. She picked up a pen and a small notebook, and she began to write. "Dear Zuri, one day, when you are old enough to understand, I will tell you the story. I will tell you about the rain, about the kind man in the black car, about your father who loved us but couldn't stay. I will tell you that life is hard, but it's also full of miracles, that sometimes help comes when you least expect it, and that no matter how dark it gets, you must never give up hope, because your story's not over. It's only just beginning." She closed the notebook and placed it on the shelf. Then she walked to Zuri's crib and looked down at her sleeping daughter. "We made it, my baby," she whispered. "We made it." And as she turned off the light and climbed into bed, Amara smiled. For the first time in a long time, she was not afraid of tomorrow, because she knew no matter what came, she would be ready. Real wealth is not in money, but in how we treat people who can't pay us back. We rise by lifting others. And with just one act of kindness, you can become the turning point in someone's life.